Welcome to Sex and Wearable Technology. Again, I'm Lanae St. John, the Mamasutra, sexologist and sexuality educator. And I have a few administrative things to cover with you first before we get started. First off, I want to thank Reg Snodgrass for acknowledging this topic of sex and technology, two topics I think I share with my panel that really get us excited.
Literally.
So administratively, if you'd like to tweet about our session, please use hashtag GlazedCon. You can also use hashtag SexTech. If you'd like to tag any of us in a comment, Hermione at Hermione Way. Brian is at Brian_OhMiBod. And Ethan is at Imboden. Correct?
Imboden, yes. Oh yeah, it's right there.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay. And I'm at the Mamasutra. We know for lots of people this topic brings a lot of nervousness, and so at the end we'll give all of our email addresses. So if you have a specific question you want to ask but are a little too shy to ask it in this forum, you can email us. We're all happy to answer a question. And I want to give you fair warning. We're going to be using sexually explicit language in this session. So terms like orgasm, penis, vagina, clitoris, those will be bandied about freely today. So just a heads up about that. So I want to start off, and I can kind of see you out there. How many of you have vibrators at home? Nice, okay. Now, how many of you are a little shy to answer a question like that in front of this group? Right on. Okay, so yeah, it's an interesting topic that all of us feel very passionate about. So, with that, I'm going to introduce the panel here. This panel will definitely put you at ease with this topic. To my right, I have Hermione Way. She is creator of Vibease, and it's a vibrator that stimulates your mind and your body. It has a smartphone app that allows you to connect your experience with a library of fantasies. So, welcome, Hermione. Next, I have Brian Dunham. He's co-creator with his wife, Suki, for the award-winning OhMiBod vibrator line. Their original wearable vibrator, OhMiBod, like I said, was the original wearable vibrator, and now he has the latest iteration, which is Blue Motion.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you. And then Ethan Imboden. Ethan is designer, entrepreneur, and founder of Jimmy Jane. And the International Business Times, when they reviewed the Hello Touch product, they said, thanks to Jimmy Jane, the gaping hole between gadget porn and porn-like gadgets has been filled. Welcome, Ethan.
Thank you, I think.
Okay, so to start things off, I'd like to invite each of you to tell us a little bit about what got you in this field. Which one wants to go first?
It's a long story, but I've always been very explicit about sex online. I mean, the fact that we're even having to sit here and warn you that we're going to be talking about sex today is frankly ridiculous. We are all a product of sex. Thank you. We all came from a vagina, whether you like it or not. And I've always been very outspoken about this online. And last year I did a TV show where I wore a vibrator on national television. Woo. And my co-founder of Vibease, got in contact and said, look, I'm a nerdy Asian guy from Singapore, and I need a spokeswoman for Vibease, which is the world's first smart vibrator. And for me, it was a perfect product because it's not a porn-inspired vibrator that you might find in Good Vibrations. I'm sure you've seen many of them. They're like 6-foot dicks. This is a device to empower a woman to learn about their bodies so they can learn how they climax. And so when they come to do it with a partner, they're much more comfortable and they know what's what. So that's how I got involved, and I'm loving every minute of it.
All right, thank you. Brian?
When I was 35, I bought my wife a vibrator and an iPod for Christmas. And she told me later on that they were the 2 best stocking stuffers she ever got, hands down. And that she was using the music in conjunction with her masturbating while I was on business trips and probably when I was just at work. And that those 2 things really helped her kind of transport herself into a kind of a sexy, fantasy type place. And so for some women it's hard to orgasm, especially when you have a couple of small kids. And that was her spot back then. And she said, you got to put these 2 products together. And that's when we kind of put together this concept of using music to actually drive the beat and rhythm of the vibration. So that's kind of how we got our start. It was about 6 years ago, and we've developed a whole slew of different products, and like Hermione, we're loving every second of it.
Thank you.
I have a long history in developing products in various industries as an industrial designer. Had been working at the time, the last company that I worked for was Frog Design, which is coincidentally where, or maybe not coincidentally, where I'm working again now. In 2002, I was the lead designer in San Francisco studio. I left to start my own design firm, was approached by a number of different people, 3 different people, unrelated to one another, who asked me to look into this category. And I thought, that's odd. Why is everybody asking me about this? After designing all sorts of other products in other categories, nobody had ever come to me about sex. Went to a trade show and stumbled across a category that, particularly at the time, was really untouched by some of the opportunities that sophisticated design, marketing, and engineering, manufacturing capabilities can bring to any product category. And I was pretty disillusioned at that moment about creating another toothbrush, another computer, another piece of furniture, pair of shoes. And this seemed like an area that was really in desperate need, and where there was a huge chasm between what people were really looking for and what was actually available to the time. And at that time, it was products with porn stars in the packaging. It was products made out of toxic materials, and products that really didn't function well. And so in 2002, got working on Jimmy Jane. And in 2004, Kate Moss walked out of a shop in New York with a couple of our vibrators that was written up in Vogue. And since then, WL, GQ, Esquire, and on, and really changing the idea behind Jimmy Jane is really changing the context of where we talk about and how we talk about sexuality, so that it opens up the category and makes it much more approachable for the enormous audience, which is pretty much all of us, can actually have access to products that improve that experience.
Thank you. So everyone here is here for wearable technology. So I want to have each of you also talk a little bit specifically about the products that you have or that you've developed that are wearable.
Vibease has been in a number of conferences alongside Google Glass, because it is actually designed to be a wearable. So without literally showing you, the way it works is it sits in your panties, and the way it's designed, it's got this lip here, so it sits hands-free, and then you sync it via Bluetooth with the phone you're carrying in your pocket, Android or iPhone, and you literally control it via the app. So everybody else just thinks you're texting, when really a boring day at the office is turned into the most exciting time of your life. So that's how we're a wearable, and I have actually worn this device, not this one, but I have actually worn this device around New York for an entire day. It was a really grey, horrible, rainy day in New York, but I had this in, and I was walking along the street using my phone, controlling the vibration through the app, and it really made the day just fantastic. I experienced the world in a much more pleasurable way.
Now, when you say in, you're not talking about insertable, you're talking about sitting in the panty, or both?
Correct. This is not, well, you can do what you want with it, but it's not designed to be inserted inside the vagina. It is just for the clitoris. And the reason why is because when it comes to orgasm, it's mostly clitoral stimulation that is needed.
Absolutely.
So, we started with this concept of bringing music to vibration, and our first few product designs were more internally focused. And what we heard from our customers was that they did want something external. And so about 3 years ago, we launched a product called Club Vibe, which is like Hermione's product, a very kind of slim, lightweight product that comes with a pair of panties, and it kind of fits in the pouch. And the remote control actually had a microphone built into it, so when you walked into the club, you could actually hear, feel exactly. So music, the live music was being streamed to your clit, basically. And so again, it's a wearable type device that is controlled either by ambient music, or you had a couple of patterns that you could choose from on your phone or on the remote control. And then we heard again from our customers, like, yeah, we love this product and we love wearing it out and about, and it's really fun for dates. You have this kind of intimate connection between my boyfriend and I, and it's really it's quite an exciting thing to do, right? Whether you're walking around solo or using it as a couple. And so our customers are saying, we love the idea and the concept, but we want the remote control to be more discreet. And so that's when we started developing the Bluetooth version of it, and we launched that at the Consumer Electronics Show in January of this year. And so now we're kind of just finishing up the app. The app is live actually on the iTunes and Google Play Store, and we're just finishing up in the next couple of days of bringing over the internet control to that app, so that again, like at CES, that people are, yeah, we love this product, but can I control my wife's Vibe for, while she's at work? And so that's when we started getting this idea. Let's bring this over the internet.
I sort of over-prepared for this question because I wasn't focused. You said, what wearable products have you worked on? And first of all, I have sort of a beef with the name wearable because I think it's a little bit confusing. And I think we're really talking about the integration of wearable technology. And I think specifically it really needs to get into where we're talking about sensing as well. Right now, I think this whole category is sort of nascent. So we lump a bunch of things together. It's kind of like saying, let's have a conference around rollables. We'll have cars and suitcases. But it will sort of grow and bifurcate later. But anyway, so wearables, I actually worked on a wearable technology product, 97, which was, totally dating myself, a wrist-worn beeper with Motorola and Timex. It was called BeepWear. You can look it up. I think you can still download a PDF of the manual if you forgot how to use your BeepWear. And then this is actually a pair of sunglasses I designed for Nike while I was with Frog previously, and it's actually a pair that was designed for one of the top 100 soccer players in the he was elected to this title by Pele. Top 100 FIFA players, Edgar Davids, who had multiple traumas to his eye and so needed to wear and still does wear glasses on the field. And then, so that's wearable, but it's not wearable technology of the electronic sort. And then much more recently developed a product called Hello Touch, and this is with Jimmy Jane, so this is relevant to the sex topic. And Hello Touch is really a response to this idea that we explore and we connect most naturally with our hands. And indeed, 80% of women masturbate with their hands. They masturbate in many ways, but one of the ways that the vast majority masturbate among the many options is, getting a shout out, is with their hands. And so it seemed very natural to sort of address that. We're also very much focused on how to make this a very easy and approachable and natural interaction for not just an individual, but for couples. And really wanted to have a man be able to feel like he's much more a part of the interaction than being perhaps put at a distance by a device that you're holding, a vibrator, for instance, that's between you and your significant other. And so Hello Touch was developed so you can sort of touch naturally and have a supernatural powers. And I have one here, but maybe by the time it comes back around to me, I'll actually have it on my hand.
Have it on again.
And then last note, Frog Design has done a number of different wearables. In fact, one of the, I think maybe the most highly deployed wearable in the world, which has over 3.5 million units out there. I can't actually name what it is or who the client is, because that's kind of how our business runs. And so this is very much something that we're exploring. And then in my new role, we're invested in a new wearable tech company as well. But that's to be announced later.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. So you mentioned the the fact that men are kind of emboldened, or not emboldened, but products like this encourage them to interact with their partners in a different way. Tell me a little bit about how that works with each of your products. They really encourage connection, right?
So Vibease, we're actually trying to keep the intimacy alive in marriages. We live in a time where we all travel more for work, long-distance relationships. In fact, it's estimated there are 18 million people in the US currently in long-distance relationships. So a large percentage of our customers are actually veterans currently serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they're buying Vibease to keep the intimacy alive in their marriages because they can control their wife's device from the other side of the world. So with Vibease, you know, our aim is to keep that intimacy alive as we all travel more, as we're all further and further away from us, using the technology we're carrying around in our pockets already to do that.
Yeah, I think when we were at CES this year in January, what we noticed is that couples are using technology way too much, right? I think everybody here is guilty of, maybe, having their heads down too often in their phone.
Cuddling up with the iPad.
Yeah, so, instead of cuddling up with your iPad at night, you should be cuddling up with your partner. And so it's really about kind of bridging that intimacy chasm that I think technology is actually introducing into our lives. And yes, we're using technology to help solve that. And it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but I think if you're going to have your phone with you all the time, then why not put it to good use and have your partner orgasm?
So Jimmy Jane has a number of different products on the market, and some of those are just standalone vibrators. But an issue with vibrators, especially for those who are sort of unaccustomed to using them with their partner, is that for a man that can feel a bit, again, like maybe there's a threesome going on. It's you, your partner, and this other being, this entity, which arguably is more thrilling than you are. And so how do you navigate that, and how do you have a man or a woman feel like they're still a part and engaged and accountable for that response that's being generated? And one way is by sort of disintermediating that and by removing that third object. So again, to be able to touch very naturally and explore as we normally would, whether that's someone on their own body or touching another. With Hello Touch, what I really love is that you're able to touch and sort of locate with the fingertips, and then you can rock your fingers to a position where you're actually applying more vibration. Your fingertips will vibrate in any case, but obviously the strongest vibration will be right at the tips here. There are two, just to describe what's going on here. Power and control is on the wrist, and the vibration is actually generated in each of these pads. And there are other vibrating fingertip vibrators or fingertip vibrators out there that are very well known. The innovation here is really on the miniaturization and on the dual vibration, where we're delivering 3 times the vibration and 1/3 the volume of anything else out there.
Excellent. So how do these products help with our sexual health? Helping us have orgasms or helping us, yeah.
So actually, the health benefits of having an orgasm are almost as good for you as going for a workout at the gym. Women don't know this, but having an orgasm can lower your blood pressure, reduce your heart rate, reduce anxiety and stress. Orgasm is a huge, huge release. And 56% of women are not achieving orgasm. And it's because when it comes to sex, men and women are very different creatures. Men can look at visual material and reach climax quite quickly, but with women there are far more other factors involved. We need emotion, we need sense, we need touch. So with Vibease, actually in our app, we have storybooks, erotic stories like 50 Shades of Grey, where you can listen to the storybook and become completely submersive in the storybook and program your vibrator to vibrate along to the storybook. And we're hoping by offering the storybooks and the senses to stimulate these other senses that we need stimulated, we can teach more women how to reach climax. Excellent.
Yeah, and I think for relationships, so echoing what Hermione said, but when it comes to relationships, I've been personally in a relationship for 26 years now with my wife, and it's not all roses, right? I mean, there are times where you're sexually active, and there are times, when you have the dry spells, right? And introducing these toys, and at least for us personally, was kind of groundbreaking for us. We were at a point in our marriage where we living in San Francisco, just had a couple of small kids, and I bought her first vibrator. And it really changed our sex life. And it probably is one of the reasons why we're still together after 26 years. And I think that that's what a lot of couples are, this current generation, this new generation is coming up with a lot more sex education and a lot more information about the health and wellness aspects of having sex and having orgasms. And more importantly, in relationships, that men don't have to be afraid of that, right? We're not going to replace anybody. Or the vibes aren't going to replace us. So we don't have to worry about that. I doubt it. Well, maybe my wife is about to leave me. I have no idea. 26 years in, who knows? But I think that's the main point. Like, let's use this technology, Hermione's and the Hello Touches and the OhMiBods of the world. Using these products can only enhance a relationship, and that's really healthy for all of us.
I agree. I think it's all about creating an opportunity for exploration and connection, and finding a variety of ways for that to happen is really critical. We try to design all the products so that they are not prescriptive. Instead, they're very open-ended. Now I'm wearing this on different fingers. There's just a lot of different ways you can use any one of these products. We've had people who don't even wear it on the wrist. They just mount these onto other objects and so on. I won't go into detail, but that's really the idea. The idea is we're able to create products, I think all of us, that are a bit open-ended and open for interpretation, which is really critical in a space where no two of us are alike.
Are you guys worried at all that your products will be considered a novelty and that people will just forget about them after a while?
I think the 2.1 billion sales of 50 Shades of Grey shows that women are itching and dying for this erotic exposure. And so for us, this is our first device, but for us, the real long-term goal is a content play. We want to become the online destination for erotic stories that you can program your device to vibrate along to. But we're going for long-term, and we know that American women, women all around the world, but in particular American women, are just wanting some sexual content.
I'm worried about just the opposite. I think there might be some overuse here with some of these new technologies. So we're not worried about it becoming a novel.
Okay.
I think you touched on a really important point, which is the role of technology in any one of these categories. And I think that there is a significant difference between a use of technology to just generate interest and for exactly novelty, which has a marketing benefit, which is a spike, and also has a user benefit, which is a spike, as opposed to creating something that has utility, which will maybe stick with you quite a bit longer, or better yet, meaning, which is sort of the intersection of utility and a meaningful experience. And that's really what we're aiming for. So two ways of addressing that. One is through the actual product development, always being very much focused on the end user experience, not on features, but on those benefits, and on the real world scenarios in which these products are going to be used. I think this is true for all wearables, by the way. And the other is in creating products that are really iterative, even iterative post-launch. So when we launched the second generation of Form 6, a different one of our vibrators, it was the first time that a vibrator had become sort of a brand unto itself. Well, in my sort of egocentric and limited view, the first time that a vibrator had sort of become a brand unto itself and then been re-released under that same name in different iterations. And it evolved enormously over the number of years and has gotten much, much better. And I think that that's much more the norm now, and I think that that's really critical for maintaining that relevance and remaining at the cutting edge of what technology offers.
Yeah, for the record, my wife loved the Form 6, so it's not just your opinion.
Okay, so a couple of smartphone or applications that you guys have. Are you guys intending to gather any data or report things or make things measurable in some way?
Yeah, so actually the feedback loop is the next step for us, and a friend of mine invented an app called the Instant Heart Rate app, which is where you put your finger over your iPhone camera and it measures your heart rate. And so for us, as I said before, the health benefits to orgasm are huge, and we're really building that feedback loop into our app so that when you're reaching climax and after you reach climax, you can actually see that now your blood pressure is lower than when you started, you're less anxious, your breathing rate is calmer, and for us it's self-actualization in orgasm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of excitement around sensors and in the kind of the biofeedback loop, and it kind of makes sense that that's the kind of the natural progression in what we're doing, right? We have both of us products that are providing stimulation, and to not do that would be silly, given the technology that's out there today. So it's an exciting kind of next step, and it'll be really cool to see what companies like hers and mine and other companies are doing out there with that.
I think it asks, there's a really interesting question underlying all of this and wearables on the whole. On the data collection side, who is collecting your data, what are they doing with it, and what company in this space will you trust to have that data and to be responsible with it? And so I think we have a long way to go in any sort of industry that's applying that sort of feedback loop to getting to a place where that we have that trust. I think that brands like those represented here are in the best position to actually do that, where it's very transparent. You know who's behind the companies, and you have maybe a very clear sense of their intentions. But I do think that that's going to be a challenge, and there's another layer of that challenge, which is this is your sexual data. People are willing to give up in some instances their DNA as part, participating as citizen scientists. So why would you not? I think there's a generation that is much less particular about how their data is spread. I think there are enormous benefits to be had. I think we'll only really reap those when the experience that's generated using that data is demonstrably better than the experience without providing that data. And I think that I haven't yet seen that application, but I hope to get there soon.
Well, so another question about products like Fitbit. I mean, I have my Fitbit on right now. Have a social integration piece, a piece where you can kind of gamify or challenge your friends. Do you see any of that happening with sex tech?
We actually designed our Blue Motion Vibe with a full audio chip so that other apps could actually drive it that had audio. So if you're playing Candy Crush and you're getting to the next level in the game, it'll actually get you to the next level. So yeah, gamification is a huge component of this, especially in the kind of the early 20s crowd, and whether or not we build that into the app or not, we probably will. But right now, we're just letting others do the heavy lifting.
We were wondering whether to have it. At the moment, you can only give one person access to your vibrator to control your vibrator. But we were discussing whether, in the days of Tinder, that we should have multiple partners be able to control your vibrator. So imagine if we partner with Tinder, and every time you got a like on your profile, it's like, zzz, that might be quite cool.
Yeah. There's so many things. It's crazy.
So I think gamification is a system of rewards to encourage us to continue. I think that there's already a built-in reward system in vibrators. So I think that actually gamification can be leveraged for completely different means here. I think it's a great way. I think levity and play are incredibly important in sexuality and in exploration and in connection. And I think that the real gamification opportunity that I see in the immediate term are games that enable people to connect. And the long-standing form of this that you've seen before are these various sex games that are card games and so on. Jimmy Jane would create a little love decoder, which is like that cootie catcher you used to play when you were a kid. And they're in every W Hotel's room. And the thing that does is it allows people to pass the accountability, the responsibility for what they're doing onto a third party, and therefore do things that they are unwilling to admit are exciting to them with their partner. And so they're able to engage and sort of level up in a way, but they're able to sort of distance themselves a bit from the responsibility of having done that, and that enables them to go further. So I think there are those sorts of opportunities built in.
Yeah, and I was at a party at Courtesy Reg the other night, and this young couple came up to us, and we're super excited about the product, and I showed it to her and to the couple, and they were so excited they actually gave it to them. But they said they love playing those types of games when they're at parties. Like, even just by nature of the product, it's kind of a game. You're at a dinner party and you're kind of teasing one another and playing with one another emotionally, and creating that connection. I think that's super important, and a lot more couples are being more open-minded to that. So that's good for all of us.
Okay. So, where is wearable sex tech going? Do any of you have thoughts on where you'd like to see it go?
Sex with robots. Maybe they'd be better than humans. No, I don't know. But I do know that our generation are not having sex. There was an article that was going around recently about how young Japanese people, Generation Y, are just not having sex. And, we live with the hookup Tinder generation, but I know several of my very highly successful friends in Silicon Valley who work in tech, and they just say that sex and dating is just so difficult to navigate. Nobody can be bothered to put the time into dating. Everyone's too busy working on their own thing to have an actual human relationship. So I do think we are moving towards, sex with machines.
More remote.
Yeah, more remote, or sex with machines or vibrators. More than, I probably have as much or more of a relationship with my iPhone as I do with my fiance. Don't tell him that.
I've been accused of that myself.
Exactly. So, we live in a time when we do have a relationship with our devices, and I think that's only going to get stronger. And so, using these devices to connect with our partners is very important.
Yeah, I have a couple of teenagers, and I watch them, and I see the technology that they're using to create intimate connections or connections with their friends and their family. They're FaceTiming, they're texting, they're Snapchatting. I didn't grow up with that, and so it's hard for me to imagine that anything could replace that physical touch. But for a lot of people, that intimate moment can be a text message or a picture, or a sex message, or a video, or a Vine, or a Snapchat, and it's changing the way we think about intimacy. And these products, we believe, will become more important in terms of that text might be corresponding with a vibration to the clit, and a tease, or back and forth, and that's important, and I think that's where it's headed, and we all have to be kind of prepared for that.
So I think that the wearable phenomenon right now is sort of an interesting next step where this is going. We've gone from technology in industry to technology in our own workplaces to technology in our homes to personal technology to wearable technology, and we're just getting closer and closer. And at some point, we will have, well, we already have technology subcutaneously inside our bodies. And I don't know exactly where that goes on the sex front, but I think it's somewhat limitless. At that point, it may be more biological than electromechanical. But I think that before we get there, in 2005, I think it was, we filed a patent around a mesh network of sensors and actuators worn on the body to create this sort of feedback loop that would enable sort of a seamless interaction between your own response cycle and the stimulation that is driving that, where you might be able to describe how long you wanted it to be and the sort of scenario you wanted, and the system would be able to take you precisely there, knowing exactly where you were relative to orgasm. And I think it's an enormously powerful patent that has now been issued, and I look forward to seeing what Jimmy Jane does with it. I don't think the world is ready necessarily yet to embrace that technology, which is why we have not yet deployed it.
Okay, guys. I see that we've run out of time now. I want to quickly give everyone the email addresses. Do you each want to shout out your email? And I also know that Brian has a special something for the crowd as
So,
well?
any questions at all? I think we're all open to fielding questions from folks who have them. My email is just brian@ohmibod. We have at ohmibod.com a whole slew of couples vibrators and solo play vibrators. And if you put in the code GlazedCon, you'll receive 50% off anything you buy, which is fun. So if any of you are interested, I'm also going to turn my little clit vibe on. I'm not wearing it; it's in my pocket. I'm going to turn it on, and the first person to connect to it via Bluetooth and buzz me
Right now.
afterwards, come find me. If you download the app, OhMiBod Remote, and you connect via Bluetooth to me, then you can have one of the first production units of our Blue Motion.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to take questions. 2 ways to reach me. One is ethan.imboden@frogdesign, no S there at the end, .com, if it's about that stuff. If it's about Jimmy Jane, it's ethani@jimmyjane.com. And we're cheaper. No. We have a 25% discount. Whatever, man.
You're venture funded. Come on.
Yeah, anyway, so profitability, man. So 25% discount if you go to Jimmy Jane and you enter the discount code Glazed. It's much faster than going to OhMiBod where it's Glazed Con. So it's more efficient for you.
Wow.
We may even at this point be carrying some of your
That goes
product, I'm
around.
not sure, on our site because we do have a couple other brands that are represented. But check out jimmyjane.com as well as OhMiBod.
And I'm going to give you the best opportunity of all three, because here's your chance to invest in our A round that we're currently raising. And you're going to be investing in a company that's going to be worth much more than these guys, billions of dollars in a few years' time. So if you want to invest in our latest round of funding, you can find me online very easily, or Hermione@Vibease.com. But we're going to be the main sex toy brand in the world, I believe.
And if you need to reach me, you can reach me at Mamasutra@me.com. All one word. So I want to thank the panel for being here today to talk about sex tech, and thank you for coming in and listening.